Hi everybody, welcome back to another lesson in my Czerny's Opus 599 course for solo learners. In this video, we're going to learn number 12. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and if you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up. I also offer online piano lessons. If you're looking for one, there's going to be information below. If you'd like to buy this special edition of Opus 599 for solo learners with extended guidance and descriptions, you can find a link to that below. Number 12 is adding to the difficulties learned in number 11. In number 11, we learned how to play legato melody against blocked chords, and we had quarter notes or crotchets and whole notes or semi-breves. In number 12, we're going to extend this by introducing eighth notes or quavers and mixing up legato and staccato, so adding staccato notes in the right hand. And the left hand actually stays exactly the same as in number 11. We have these semi-breve or whole note chords and blocked chords. So the main challenges we're going to learn in this piece is how to mix eighth notes and quarter notes, how to mix legato and staccato, and how to balance a melody against chords, how to make the melody louder, more emphasized, and make the chords quieter and gentler in the background. Let's start with the first two lines, which is the first section. The left hand is going to be still in the treble clef, and we are in 4/4 common time, so 4 beats in every bar. Starting in the C position, middle C, left hand, we're going to have these three chords that we already learned in number 11. Now, when you play these chords, very important to have rounded hand shape, curved fingers, a soft wrist, and kind of channel energy into these chords so they feel nice and deep, but not too loud. Now, very important that the three notes of the chords go down perfectly together, and you don't have any fingers delayed like this. Okay, so really concentrating on the three fingers going down together, playing with the fingertips and rounded fingers. Let's start. C chord, C, E, G. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. G chord, 1, 3, 5. B, D, G. And back to the C chord. Second line, C chord again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have a G7 chord, B, F, G. 1, 2, 5. And back to the C chord. So every chord is 4 beats long, a whole note. Right hand, we're going to start in the C 5-finger position because this chapter is all about exercises in a 5-finger position. And as you can see, we have these eighth notes or quavers and quarter notes crotchets. Now, an eighth note is twice as fast as a quarter note, so the rhythm is going to go like this. Ti, 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 ta, ta. Ti, 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 ta, ta. Or 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So making sure the quarter notes are twice as long even when they are staccato. So ignoring the articulation, let's just play through the notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The hand stays in this 5-finger position, and all you need to do is follow the steps and skips to read the melody. Now, two things that come into place here. One thing you'll notice in this piece, we have quite a few repeated notes. Now, as a general rule in piano playing, when we have repeated notes, we kind of swap the finger. So here, when we have the G, G, we can do 5, 4, and then back to 5. And we have some more repeated notes in the second half. If you don't swap the fingers or alternate the fingers on repeated notes, it's not a mistake, but it will sound better and look better and better for your technique if you alternate your finger numbers on repeated notes. Now let's add in some articulation. We have the long slurs, and these slurs are going to end on a staccato. The dots above the notes mean they have to be bouncy and light. Now, staccato means that a note is much shorter, but the counting stays the same. So many times when people think of staccato, they think that the counting speeds up like this. But the note has to be short, but we add a little gap after to fill in the rest of the beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So my counting is the same, but the staccato has to bounce up very lightly. Now here when we play staccatos, we kind of have a rounded motion, bounce up, almost feel like you're being ejected from the keys. This is called finger staccato because we're basically doing the staccato from the finger, not from the whole arm like with chords. And you want to create this kind of flicking motion where it's almost like there's some dirt on the keys and you want to flick it off. So very gently, lightly and bouncing. Now, the first section of the bar is a legato, and we want to play through very smoothly and connected and then bounce up on the last note. And then down on the G, connecting through and bounce, bounce, connect, bounce, bounce. So the same idea goes all the way through when you have legato followed by staccato. You connect to the staccato and bounce up on the staccato, not before, but at the staccato. Now these slurs, as you can see, are all connecting rising and falling 5-note scales. And when we have that, we need the hand to follow that shape, and that's called wrist circles. So we're going to circle with the wrist, making sure the wrist is very soft and allowed to move to follow the shape of the melody. The fingers should stay curved, the hand rounded, in order to be able to play with the fingertips so we have good control of the sound. Do not play with the bottom of the fingers, play with the fingertips. Now as we go up, we're going to move the wrist, so a very subtle movement. And then down and move the wrist back towards the thumb. So the wrist moves out, moves in, and this is going to be done throughout the piece as the scale rises and falls. So right, left, it's kind of a lateral motion of the wrist, and it really helps the playing to feel more natural. It sounds more natural, but it's also going to feel like you're basically doing nothing. It takes off the pressure from the wrist. If you keep your wrist in a very static position and just play from the fingers, it's going to get very tiring. Now, one last thing about this right hand. As you can see, the melody is rising and falling, so it's a good idea to add some natural dynamics. As the melody is rising, you're going to get a bit louder. As it's falling, you're going to get quieter. So as I was rising, you could hear there was some natural dynamics added, which makes the piece sound much nicer. It adds color. So it's not a flat plane, it has valleys and peaks, so it sounds much more interesting. And although there's no dynamics notated, you are free to add natural dynamics to all falling and rising melody lines. Now, when we have lots of shorter slurs, we have to lift up the hand between the slurs. So as we approach the end of the slur, we lift up and a downbeat for the next slur, because we want to separate these short phrases so we can instantly feel where the beginning and the end of a phrase is. Now let's add the hands together. So left hand is going to sustain 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and... Now here is a danger zone, because the right hand is carrying 2 bars of legato, but the left hand is going to come up. So what wants to happen is this. The right hand wants to jump up when the left hand comes up. Don't allow that to happen. Keep the right hand connected. So you get to the F, left hand comes up, and when the left hand goes down, you connect to the G. Same in the second bit. Connect. There we are. The last thing to think about is balance, as I said. So the right hand needs to be louder than the chords of the left hand, which is quite difficult because the chords are bigger and heavier, so naturally they're going to sound louder, but you have to really try to keep your left hand quiet and emphasize the right hand melody. If I swap over and I make my left hand loud, it sounds like this. Which kind of overpowers the melody so we can't hear it and it doesn't sound so musical. But if we emphasize the right hand, then already the melody is kind of dominating the piece and it sounds a lot nicer. Let's go on to the second half. So from bar 9 till the end, obviously we have a repeat sign at the end of the first section. We need to play twice before going on to the second half. Left hand uses the same chords. So G chord, 1, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, C chord. G chord, C chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have two half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So very simple. And the right hand starts on the D. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and bounce, bounce. Repeating. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and bounce, bounce. So the same phrase twice. And in the final line, we have these quick repeating notes. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. We have the G repeated 4 times and we have to swap the finger numbers. 5, 4, 3, 2. 1 and 2 and 5, 4, 3, 2 and back to 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And rounding off for the end of the phrase. Every time you have a legato phrase ending or any kind of phrase, you want to get a little bit quieter and round off so you can feel that it's the end of that musical idea, that phrase. Hands together. Connect. Bounce, bounce. Lift. Connect. Bounce, bounce. Swap. And there we are at the end. So quite a few challenges in this piece, although you can ignore all of these and just play the notes, but the idea is that you actually do it properly, and that's how you learn so much from this very simple short piece. You learn about articulation, you learn about shaping, you learn about natural dynamics, you learn about accuracy of chords, you learn about balancing melody against chords, you learn about staccato and legato. So a lot of things packed in this very short piece. And take your time with it, play very slowly at the start, and then you can go a little bit faster and let those eighth notes run a little bit.